Does innovation only happen inside an organization? No? So like we were saying a bit earlier, you could definitely, a lot of companies go out and buy smaller companies, and that's how they innovate. This happens a lot in the ICT sector, so you find the big organizations like Cisco, Oracle, Dell, others that have basically acquired so many smaller companies and plugged them into the organization. But another form of innovation that happens is something called open innovation. And this is becoming more and more common, where we tap into the wisdom of the crowd, where companies go out there and say to themselves, look, no matter how good we are at hiring, we're not going to hire all of the best, smartest people out there. There are some other smart people still out in the market. How can we tap into them? And especially with today's tools, mainly on social media and other very low-cost tools, we can very effectively reach out to the crowd and ask them to help us innovate. And if you think of social media companies in general, they've all been built on this concept. We, as users of Facebook, have actually helped them build Facebook, have helped them innovate. We've told them what is something that is most interesting for us. And based upon that, they were able to improve it, etc. So most of these social media engines have actually been built based on our innovations, us as a crowd. But even you, from your own businesses, can use open innovation to reach out and get insights from your users, from your clients, in a really, really effective way. You'll engage them, you'll be able to get some great ideas, and it doesn't cost as much. So even if you're coming up with a new logo, why don't you send it out and put it on your social media and tell people to come up with different designs for that logo, and the best design will win some amount of money, or will win something from you, some prize. So even at a level of small businesses, there's a lot that you could do with open innovation. So do great innovations appeal immediately to mass markets? No? Why? What do you need to do? Who do you need to target first? Early adopters. Absolutely. So we need to think of, always when we come up with a great innovation, who's that niche segment that is so interested in what we have to offer that we need to put all of our energy in reaching out to them. So in innovation, there's something called the Rogers Innovation Adoption Curve, where you find that the key challenge in innovation is crossing from the innovators and early adopters, which basically constitute about 16% of any general population, cross from that group into the mainstream population. And this is the hardest thing to do. 90% of the businesses basically fail by not being able to do that crossover into the mass market. And think of simple innovations that we now take for granted, like something like Skype. When it first started, only really, really innovative people who were able to hang in there while the phone cut and while the service was so bad and while there weren't so many people on Skype, only these guys jumped onto it. And then with time, more people started to come on board, and they were able to make this crossover where now just about everyone uses Skype. So when it comes to adoption of innovation, make sure you determine which target segment is that target segment that is going to benefit the most from your innovative idea, and then focus on them, and from there you start to expand into other areas. So that was just setting the stage about innovation in general. We're going to go into the innovation design thinking model. And has anyone heard of IDEO? IDEO? No? So IDEO is a world-class design firm. And they design everything. I mean, initially they started off by designing a lot of products, but now they design the whole experience. And the CEO of IDEO, called Tim Brown, is a big advocate of this design thinking, which is to apply the way that we design, the design, or the way that the thinking that goes with designing products and services, apply that to all kinds of business. And it makes a lot of sense for the entrepreneurial world as well. If you've, in previous events, maybe that if you've attended any of these startup or entrepreneurial events, you've probably heard about lean startups. So this is a new model of how we help organizations quickly go out with a new concept, a new idea, test it out quickly, and then be able to iterate it fast. So that is all built around this design thinking concept. And IDEO I was telling you about is really a great organization. I encourage you to check some of their work, and there's a great example online, a documentary of how they've been able to, where they had a challenge within, I think, a week to redesign the shopping cart. It's documented on a video. So it's a really great, interesting video for you to watch and see how the design process happens from A to Z. And this is their end result. They came up with this shopping cart that has a place for kids to sit here with a little area where they can actually, put some stuff and play. Instead of having the cart with this metal thing that puts everything, it's a compartment for different baskets. So you could go and put, based on your shopping, the various baskets, and you put them in line. This helps you from not having to move the cart around all the supermarket where you can, while it's busy. It's good. It's got hooks here so that when you do your checkout, the baskets stay in the checkout counter, but your bags go into these hooks and you can take them out. And it's got a future thing where you can actually self-service, you do self-service checkout. So that's just an example, and again, they take you through this design process of how they came up with such a concept. The thinking around innovation design goes in these four simple stages. The first stage is basically understanding the problem, understanding the situation, understanding the people that are involved. So this is about really getting a grip on what are we solving. And this is very important for you in your business to think about this in terms of what problem are you solving in your business. And in your business, who's that target segment, like we said, that has the most to gain from whatever you're solving? So the first stage is really the in-depth understanding of what are we doing in our business, who is our user, what do they need, how do we really come up with something that is effective for their needs. The next stage is to ideate. Ideate is the process of coming up with so many different ideas and not necessarily judging ideas by if they're good or bad, just throwing any idea out there. It's like a brainstorming kind of activity where every idea could work. Don't put any limitations on the ideas. So the ideate stage happens after that. Once you come up with these different ideas, that's where you would then be able to start to choose which one idea or one product or one prototype of what you can build makes use of the various good elements you've seen from different ideas. How can you put it all into one sort of product that you could come up with? And this is called the prototype. So the prototype doesn't have to be a fully functioning final product, but it's a collection of the best elements that you've identified from the ideation stage. And once you've been able to come up with a prototype, then you're able to go and showcase it to your target segments, your users, and evaluate their feedback, learn from that feedback, and then be able to reiterate and improve on whatever you've seen. So this is a very simple process, nothing too complicated in it, and it applies to any element of our business. So like we said, it could be basically that you're thinking of it from a service, product, doesn't have to be just confined to a product. What is the issue we're addressing? How does that affect the user? How do we, what can we do? Creating a lot of ideas, prototyping it, and evaluating it. One very simple, when we work with a lot of software engineers, our software developers, etc., you find that they, especially startup entrepreneurs, who have an idea, and they're software, they're coders. And I'm always surprised by how many people we come across where they're great developers, they've got this great idea, but they keep on talking to it from putting it on a PowerPoint, talking about the idea itself. And they never move into the prototype stage. And we sit and tell them, so how long will it take you to actually build this? They'll say, a couple of days. So why haven't you built it so far? So people, for some reason, shy away from building a prototype because they feel it's not ready yet. It's not perfect. But it'll never be perfect in our minds. We need to start to create stuff that we can then show to people and get feedback on. So this process of understanding, ideating, prototyping, coming up with something tangible that we can show someone, get feedback on it, is the process that will help us very quickly innovate and very quickly, advance what we're thinking about. Makes sense? Yeah? So, like we said, on the understanding side, the idea is to understand the people, the problem, the situation, ideate, come up with as many ideas as you can, prototype, create a quick product, that makes use of those best ideas, and then put it out in the market and get some feedback. So a market could be a contained market, doesn't have to be everyone, but you could give it out to some, beta users. And the idea is that you do this in an iterative way. And the very important idea is that it's okay to fail. It's okay if the product is bad. And this is the reason why, like I was telling you, a lot of these developers don't actually develop the product because they say, I want to, it's not ready yet. It's never going to be ready. It's okay to put it out there, get some feedback. Even if it's not perfect, at least use the feedback that you'll get to improve on it. And this is very, very important from your business perspective. Try to come up with ways in which you can, put this idea out there, put a prototype, test it out with your customers, and, help them give you feedback on it. So, 3 key elements on the understanding side that we're going to focus on now, and we're going to do an exercise after that to, for you, around these 3 elements. So we've got to always think about, as we understand the situation, the people side of it. How desirable is what we're building to people? How much is it in need? How much do people need it? The second part is what is technically feasible today, based on the technology we have today. What can we do? And as you know, technology is evolving very fast. So this is why this whole innovation process becomes something that could be continuously updated because of the changes on the technology side. And the third element is the business viability. Are people willing to pay for this? Of course, as you could see, the best place to be is in the middle, where you've got all of these 3 elements together, where you've got a really great product that people really want, that technology allows you to actually implement it and deliver it in a really efficient way, and it has a great business proposition to it as well. So if you're just focusing on the people and technology side, you'd come up with some functional innovation, something that, some new features that could come up that could be interesting for some people. If you're focusing on the business and people side of the innovation, you can come up with some emotional innovation. Emotional innovation could be a brand. We're attached to so many different brands, right? These brands are not necessarily related to whether the technology enables them or not. It's just that we feel good with that brand. And that is some kind of emotional innovation where it touches on people's need to be associated with something and the business viability of it. So as an example, a Rolex watch, it hasn't changed much in many years, so it doesn't really use much of the technology innovation. But when it comes to this part, it's very, very powerful on the emotional innovation, right? And they play on different forms of emotions. So whether you're a golf player, they want you to make you feel you're the best golf player. If you're a sailor, they want you to make you feel that you're the best, sailor. So that is an important part. Then you've got, between business and technology, process innovations that come in. But the best form, like we said, that puts all of this together is the experience innovation. And that's where you'll see the maximum impact that happens. An example of an experience innovation is the iPod ecosystem. I mean, now of course it's evolved also to the tablets, iPads, and the smartphones. But when this came out as a device, this is a form of this innovation which touches on people's desirability, the technology, and the business viability. From one side, I mean, there were a lot of Walkmans out there, right? Sony had Walkmans. They had these MP3 players. There were things that were out there. But what Apple did with this is that it made it such a great designed product that people wanted to have it. The technology was also much better than previously, so you could store thousands and thousands of songs on it instead of having to carry a CD or by itself. And the business viability made a lot of sense. Going back to your point, it was so much easier now to buy music. I didn't have to buy the whole CD. I could buy a single song that I really liked. It wasn't that expensive. So that is a great example of this experience innovation that touches on the three elements that we talked about.